Hello, everyone, and welcome to EduMatch. Follow along with us on Google Plus at bit.ly/tweettalk52, as well as on Twitter with the hashtag EduMatch. Speaking of EduMatch, if you are interested in being a person of the day and growing and building your PLN and connecting with some like-minded educators around the world, then check us out at edumatch.education. Before we get started, I wanted to give a huge shout out to everyone who participated in EdCamp Boxer. So thank you on behalf of the organizers, and we hope that you had some great conversations and some great friendships that will continue to last. So check us out. We are coming back December 27th through the 29th. So tonight's topic, we're going to be talking about student work ethics. So without any further ado, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to the panel. So Anjanette, if you could please introduce yourself, where you are, what you do, and your role.
Hi, everybody. This is Anjanette Washington. I'm from sunny South Florida, Fort Lauderdale area. Technology, fifth grade, Digital 5 at Broward County Schools, Manatee Bay Elementary.
All right, fantastic. Welcome back, Anjanette. And next we'll go to Dan.
Sorry, I just had to turn down the volume on a book that my kids have. I was afraid that it was going to come over. Anyway, my name is Dan. I'm an instructional coach at a middle school in Derby, Connecticut, and I really wanted to get on to this hangout on air and talk about student work ethic because we just finished up an EdCamp Boxer session all through the week on growth mindset, and specifically growth mindset in the classroom. So I just wanted to share maybe a few things that we talked about in that group as well.
All right, fantastic. Welcome back, Dan. And we also have two new people on panel. So Neena, if you could please introduce yourself.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Neena Grosvenor, also from Broward County Schools. So Anjanette, we have to meet up. And I am a staff developer for library media, supporting libraries across the district, and I also support technology integration. And Dan, you were a fabulous facilitator for the growth mindset on Boxer, so thank you for that.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Neena, and welcome to Tweet and Talks. And also we want to welcome Stephanie. So Stephanie, if you could please introduce yourself.
Okay, got it unmuted now. Okay, hi, I'm Stephanie Filardo. I am actually in the middle of Missouri right now. I'm at a rest stop, so hence the car. I'm on my way to my nephew's birthday party. I teach technology. That's a new position for me this coming year at a school in St. Louis, Missouri. And I really, as soon as I saw the topic for this chat, I knew I wanted to be involved in it because the last 4 years I've been teaching math and special education, and work ethic is such an important thing to me. So I'm glad I could be involved.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, and we are very happy to have you here. So welcome to the panel. All right, so we are going to go ahead and jump in right now. So what exactly is student work ethic, and what does it entail? So the very first question, what does student work ethic mean to you, and what does it entail? So who would like to jump in on that one? Not all at once now.
I'll take it.
Okay. Yay!
Me? All right. So I think what I want to say about what does it mean, I think that, as in my work as an instructional coach, personally, I really focus on two things at my school, or at least I have been so far since I've been doing the job: technology integration, instructional technology, and student engagement. So to me, work ethic starts with student engagement, but doesn't end there. There's so many different levels of it. I've had discussions with other really top-notch educators who challenge me on the student engagement piece all the time. They say, okay, well, student engagement is great, but like, how far can you go with it? And I'm like, I don't get it. The students are doing the work, they're engaged, but it's so much more. And so I think where work ethic comes in is we've all been hearing probably about the term grit lately. It's the grit and the determination and the self-motivation to want to do the work. And it starts with student engagement, and it starts with student-centered mindset and student-centered lessons by the teacher, but it's the students wanting to do the work.
Great, great. Thank you so much, Dan. And we might jump in a little later on with going more into what exactly a growth mindset is. But we're going to turn it over next to Anjanette.
I think it has to do with the perseverance of a student pushing through, and I like what Dan said earlier, just to push through that grit, changing of the mindset, expectations. You have to set them at the beginning of the year. Teaching fifth grade in Broward County, we have quite a bit of testing, and so you have to just already begin to change the mindset. We got to persevere, push through to get certain goals achieved, both academic, social, emotional, and of course digital, because my class is a digital 5. So there's lots of goals, and you just got to persevere through it.
Absolutely. So perseverance is definitely a big part of the equation. So great. Do we have Neena or Stephanie with any thoughts? All right, Stephanie, go ahead.
Okay, kind of, I had to turn off the video because my signal's not great enough, so you guys are just going to have to stare at my profile picture. I think that, for me, work ethic, because, working with students in math and working with students, with known where it was their challenge area, they had learning disabilities in math, and that was something that I had so much struggle with. I think their work ethic, to me really was just, being able to power, that grit, that being able to power through, and, know that, and then kind of me really knowing the balance of where we can hit the wall, but not really, get so stuck that we just can't make it through that. So that was kind of a different perspective for me these last few years.
Great. Thank you for sharing. And Neena, what about you?
Well, first of all, I would like to say I agree with Dan, and I think that students really need to understand what it means to stay with something. They get frustrated and then they abandon whatever it is that they've started, and we really have to teach them, what it means to have that stick-with-itness and to continue a task until it's seen through to the end. I don't think that students sometimes understand that. And so we have to model it for them. That might be a lesson that we teach at the beginning of the year so that students understand it. And of course, that modeling would have to be repeated throughout the school year. Students don't always retain everything that we're saying, so we want to make sure that they understand what it means to complete a task.
All right, fantastic. And we're coming back to Dan for a comment.
I just wanted to throw in there that, and this may depend on what level of student or what level school you work at. I'm in a middle school, and I don't think it's unique to middle school, but I know that there are a lot of students, especially athletes, who think that work ethic and talent go together, and it couldn't be farther from the truth. And I know that for me, as an educator and as a coach of a sport, I coach baseball. I find myself so many times trying desperately to convince kids that to really make it big in sports or entertainment or anything where you want to make millions of dollars, it goes so much further beyond talent. And I think this work ethic piece is a big part of it, whether it's in the classroom or not, instilling in students and in children in general this idea that, listen, if you want to make something of yourself, academically or not, you have to work for it. You can't just rely on talent or good looks or your family name or anything like that. You have to actually work for it.
All right, great point, great point. And I kind of want to dive into this a little bit off script, so I'm just going to throw a question out there, and y'all can feel free to jump in on it. So a lot of times when we talk about grit and things of that nature, then there's sometimes controversy surrounding the terms because students come from different backgrounds and have different challenges in their lives, and some people say that grit by just simply showing up, then that's demonstrating a lot of grit. So how do we ensure that we are applying these models and philosophies in an equitable way to our students? And all right, Neena.
I think that, as I said before, that it's important for us to instill in our students an understanding of what it means to have a work ethic. And I think that as far as us modeling it, we have to, well, I guess, teach them and make them see that no matter what the job is, as Dan said, you want to stick with that job until it is completed. People really judge you based on your work ethic. Whether or not you are an individual that just sloppily completes a task or um, doesn't finish a task, those are all things that we are judged on in society. And so we have to make our students understand that, you know, it is important to have a strong work ethic, that people will view you highly if you have a strong work ethic, and that could be the very trait that can get you hired over someone else if we're talking about the workplace. So it's really important that they have an understanding of what it means to have a strong work ethic.
Great, thank you so much. I see that Dan wrote soft skills in the chat. So Stephanie, we're going next to you.
Okay, I think that this is the thing that I see the most often in my previous school especially, that it would be a matter of, the kids know the teachers who just show up and are there just to be there and to get a paycheck, and then they know the ones who are really trying to make everything, make learning a great experience for them. And I spend a lot of time outside of school working on my skills and being able to share that with my students, and that's something that they, anytime I'd go to a conference, if I would miss a day, to be able to do that, I wanted them to see I'm not just missing time to miss time, and I would really hold myself accountable to them. And I think that's something they have to be able to see. And the teachers, the kids, granted high schoolers, but even middle schoolers, I've seen them, they figure it out, they know the difference there, and they don't always translate that to life. So I guess that's the next thing I need to work on, is getting that to kind of translate that from seeing that with teachers in the school to real life.
All right, great. Thank you. Thank you all for your answers. And I see Anjanette has unmuted.
I want to share a success story, and I was thinking about my year this year with the diversity of my students. I had 27 different languages and countries, and we had a national contest called First in Math. And at the beginning of the year, the students didn't want to dig in and solve the problems. And I said, look, if you don't solve the problems, you won't do as well as you could have done. We have to sit here. We have to sometimes explain the
Anjanette, so sorry, we lost audio on you. You still have it, Stephanie? Okay, sorry. Go ahead, Anjanette. So it might be coming through on cell phones. So please continue. Sorry about that. Right, great. Thank you so much. I caught the beginning part of that, but for some reason the audio dropped about halfway through. But Stephanie said she still heard it, so we're hoping that that it came through on the feed and will get picked up for the podcast. So Dan said that he had a comment that he wanted to make right after you.
I guess I wanted to just expand my thought on the soft skills for a second. This is just my prediction. I don't know if anyone else agrees with me or not, but I predict that over the next handful of years, we're going to see education shift away from the, I don't even know the right term, the beating over the heads that I feel like we've all been taking over the last several years on really drilling into our students the reading and the math. I think STEM subjects are going to explode, and I think that as these technological jobs develop, I think soft skills are going to become more and more important. And I almost think that that's sort of like the next buzzword that could become really big, because it goes so much deeper than a student's academic abilities at this point. And when they're going to go for jobs later on down the road, or even getting into colleges, I think it's going to be those skills that really not only set them apart, but really get them ahead in life and in school or wherever they want to be. So I think that teachers recognizing those skills it is so important to a student's work ethic and their motivation and determination, like we've already mentioned. Because I think if a teacher just recognizes maybe the improvements academically that a student is doing, that's fine. But I think that when you really recognize the whole child and all of their skills and abilities, that's going to mean more to them in the long run.
Absolutely, and that goes to the notion of building relationships with our students, which is which is really the foundation of learning. So we're gonna skip the third question just for the sake of time and go straight to the fourth one. So I'm gonna go to Neena first, but the question is, how do we move our classrooms and our students from a culture of compliance to one of innovation? So Neena, what do you say about that?
Well, we touched on this a bit in our Mindset Voxer group, and Dan will attest to this. And we talked a lot about reconfiguring what our classrooms look like. When we talk about compliance, I envision, students sitting in rows, teacher at their desk or in front of the classroom. All of the learning is teacher directed, nothing is student centered. And I think we are going to see a shift where the teacher is the facilitator in the room, and there is movement within the classroom. The students have choice, and they are the ones who are gathering information and tackling a difficult problem and seeing it through to the end to solve that problem, and the teacher is just guiding them along the way. So that's a shift that I think is going to be prevalent in many classrooms. The hope is that blended learning is going to take off when we talk about technology use in the classroom. Flipped classrooms you should see more often, because the workplaces, it looks different. There is a shift that has already taken place, more collaborative activities in the workplace, and students need to understand and know how to make that shift as well. But we have to show them how in the classroom. We are the ones that are shaping them for their future.
Absolutely, and it's definitely important to help our students get prepared for the future. So we're going next to Stephanie.
Okay, this is one that is definitely near and dear to my heart, because I really try to have my students ask as many questions as they can, and I teach them how to do that respectfully. So they're not, I want them to challenge authority, but I want them to, still be good citizens, and there's a fine balance within that. But I model that as much as I can with myself. I'm really big on telling my students that if you don't ask, it's an automatic no, and that comes to opportunities that they have at school, that comes to opportunities they have outside of school. And kind of the really cool personal story that I have with that I'll share really quickly is that when I really truly started doing this with myself and letting my students see that process, really amazing things happened this year. I went from being a teacher of, 20 students a year, 20 to 50 students a year, depending on the year, to now having a job in another district at a private school teaching technology. And I got to go to Google Innovator Academy, and my students saw me go through all of that. And when they really see that, and you really start getting them asking those questions, then they really start to see that there is, like, with their work, it pays off, and there's a lot of benefit to that.
Absolutely, absolutely. Great. So let me see. Is there anyone else who would like to comment on that? All right, Dan.
Yeah. So what was I going to say? Let me remember. So I think one of the things that I have been feeling recently about this particular notion in terms of this growth mindset and this push towards student-centered learning. It's been a while since I've gone through my quote-unquote teacher training, and I don't even know that I did it in a real official way, but I think we have a bit of a disconnect because I think that there are newer teachers coming in who are very motivated to change and grow their mindset and grow their students toward this student-centered learning. The odd part about that is that I don't know that through their teacher induction programs, whether they be undergraduate degrees or master's degree programs, I don't know that the professors at a college level are actually teaching that way. And so I guess I would just like to see, and so I wanted to throw it in there, that as we train new teachers, this next generation, the new wave of real student-centered facilitators in the classroom, that we actually show them what it's like before we throw them to the wind and say, okay, here's your classroom and go ahead and do it.
Absolutely, absolutely, definitely. Anjanette, do you have anything that you wanted to add? All right, great. Thank you so much, Anjanette. And I'm super sure that this is going to come out in the feed when we download it. So if anyone can't hear, just look out for the podcast. That'll be coming out in a few weeks. All right. So great comments today. Thank you so much for everyone who had asked questions on the Q&A. We dropped them on Twitter so that people can continue to back channel. But definitely wanted to thank everyone who was on panel tonight. Thank you to Anjanette. Thank you to Dan. Thank you to Neena. Thank you to Stephanie. Appreciate you all being here. Also wanted to give a super shout out to Dr. Dorian Lee Roberts Miller for coming up with the theme of tonight, as well as Rachel Pierson for contributing questions. And there was also another question contributed by Makisha. So thank you all so much for those questions. And tune in next week. We're going to be talking about design thinking. So it's going to be 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So before we sign off, wanted to tell you all about some great online learning opportunities. So we just wrapped EdCamp Voxer. However, coming up, there is EdCamp Global, which will be June 29th and 30th, and it's going to be online. So the link was tweeted as to how to sign up and get involved. So tell your friends, tell everyone you know. It's going to be a great day of learning. Also, the following week, there will be EdCamp EduMatch. So our very own baby's coming back next year for round 2. So just check out the link that was tweeted from the EduMatch account and sign up for that. It's going to be all online through MIT Unhangouts. And last but not least, the Edu Passions Conference is coming Labor Day weekend. So right now there is a call for presenters. So this will be a free event. and we're just looking for some dynamic speakers who are very passionate about education. So if you want to be on panel for next week, Design Thinking, then just go to bit.ly/tweettalk52, the number 52. Anyone can be a panelist as long as you are in education. So just leave a comment on the Google Hangout page saying panelist. All right, everybody. So thank you again. Thank you to the tweeters, to the lurkers, to the watchers, panelists, and the well-wishers. So everyone have a fantastic evening.